Okay? So are we eating enough carbohydrates that are not ending up in fat storage? If the answer is yes, then we can start to look at the quality of those carbohydrates. What are the sources? Are they organic? Are they in their least processed form, etc., etc.? Because it's not necessary. This is very much of like a carbohydrate 101, kind of like we did the protein 101. Just like your carbohydrates, you eat them, they get absorbed quickly. This should be able to be absorbed quickly and put into practice today. So hopefully within this half an hour to 35-minute podcast or so, you'll get some quick action tips that will allow you to start dialing in the carbohydrate sources that you believe are best for you, or somewhere to start, or how to get them at the right time to start reaching your goals. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed recently. Don't think that we don't notice. We love the views, we love the comments, we love all of the new subscribers, and we love seeing that this show is growing. If you like this show, the best thing you can do to support it is hit that subscribe button. And if you want to take it one step further, please share any and all episodes. Thank you. Let's get on to the show. Welcome to Bear It All, the Kintsugi Chronicles, here on the I Am Not Okay channel, where we gather our broken pieces in search of gold. My name is John Bear, and I'm joined by Jeremy Palmer.
Hey, John.
How you doing, brother?
Doing great.
Awesome. We're going to get right to it today. We talked about protein the last time we were on.
Yes, we did.
And today we're going to get after carbohydrates. All right?
Let's do it.
I'm just going to get right into it. So just like we did with protein, basically what we did was we told you what it is, and then we'll do our best to find the best way for you to add carbohydrates into your life in a way that serves the goals that you have. Please add to this, Jeremy, if I miss anything.
Go.
Carbohydrates are the body's primary source of energy. They are broken down into glucose, which is used by cells for fuel. Anything to add there?
Nope.
No. Awesome.
That's everything.
All right. So then what we have is we have the breakdown. Like there was animal sources and we'll say non-animal sources of protein.
Yeah.
There are simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates.
Definitely.
Would you like to share the breakdown on the difference between those?
Sure.
Go for it.
So simple carbohydrates are something that is broken down quickly and absorbed by your body very quickly. So fruits are a prime example of that, but also sugary drinks or sugary foods, things like that are also found in these simple carbohydrate. Complex carbohydrates are more of the starchy, fibery version of carbohydrates. So whole grains, vegetables, so oats, things like that. Starchy vegetables, sweet potatoes, squash, things like that possess a lot more of that complex carbohydrate. And that is going to be something that is going to burn a little bit longer for you and is a sustained form of energy.
Perfect. I don't really have anything to add to that. That's the best breakout I could ask for.
All right.
So what I'm going to do is I have a list here that is similar to the list that I did with proteins in that these things have been tested to have little to no allergic reaction. So I'm going to list off, it's going to seem like a lot of things, and there's also going to be some vegetables and starch which cross over with some fruits. So, and grains. These are things that I would primarily consider more of a carbohydrate source. There might be some other macronutrients in there, but mostly carbohydrates. You ready to roll?
Go.
All right, let's do it. Beets, bok choy, cabbage, carrots, celeriac, celery, chard, collard greens, cucumber, ginger root, artichoke, kale, lettuce, mizuna, mustard greens, parsley, parsnip, pickles, pumpkin, rutabaga, spinach, string beans, sweet potatoes, turnips, watercress, winter squash, yams, zucchini. And then if we go over to fruits, So we have avocado listed as a fruit. It is a fruit, and it is also a primary fat source. So I would not necessarily consider avocado a primary carbohydrate source. However, there are carbohydrates in it. Bananas, berries, cherries, coconut, another primarily fat source. However, it definitely it is a fruit, and there's a tiny bit of carbohydrates in there. Dates, grapes, melons, papaya, pineapple, plantains, and then some grains that I would consider worthwhile, and not just me, but obviously have been tested to have less allergic reaction. Amaranth, brown rice, quinoa, rice noodles, white jasmine rice, wild rice.
Very nice. That's a pretty good list.
Yeah. Is there anything off of there that you wouldn't have or you would kind of counter or add to?
No, all of those things great. I would add the area of legumes in there for some of the stuff that it's a little more of a crossover, like you were discussing just a minute ago, some of the other foods. Mm-hmm. The legumes are going to give you carbohydrates in the complex form, but also some protein.
Correct.
So any beans, lentils, peas, things like that. I think you mentioned peas already, but they're part of that. Peas are actually considered a legume as well. So those would have a little bit of protein, and also the piece of the puzzle in complex carbohydrates is fiber as well. So
correct, yes. So the added fiber, definitely. What I will say is if there's any legumes, particularly we'll say peanuts, that you are allergic to, I mean, obviously, hopefully don't eat that. Mm-hmm. However, if you needed the permission, don't eat that. Okay, so that is the bulk of the sources. Okay, so now...
There's
anything missing?
Dairy. There's some carb from dairy because lactose.
And so
lactose is a sugar.
And I'm happy. Why don't you list them?
Okay.
And also with the caveat of, again, if you're allergic,
right? Yeah,
it's not for you, which is why I didn't list it to begin with. However, these are in addition to.
Yes. Also, you can also get carbohydrate from dairy products. So for a quick explanation of that, most all dairy products have some form of lactose in them, and lactose is a sugar. So it is one of those foods, again, that you would be getting both carbohydrate and protein from, and fat, depending on which one you're using. If you're having whole milk or skim milk, like you can get fat, you can get protein and carbohydrate out of that. Mm-hmm. However, as John mentioned, there are a lot of folks who have an allergy to that, who are averse to having those things as well. So that's again, use at your discretion.
Yep. So that is most of the sources now. And one of the questions that we then get asked is, how much carbohydrates should I eat?
What are you doing?
Would be the question, right? So it really is subjective to what are your goals. I'm going to do my best to illustrate, if I can, a way for you to start, we'll say, getting carbohydrates in. As said earlier, it is the best source of fuel for the body. So we're definitely not saying don't eat them. Here's how I look at carbohydrates personally, and maybe Jeremy will share some insights into how he looks at them. I look at carbohydrates as in addition to my protein surrounding my daily activity, meaning I focus on making sure that I hit my protein first, always. That is the first thing that goes down the hatch. And then I look at what kind of day do I have coming up. Today, a day that we're shooting this is a day that was a lifting day for me. Or let's say it's a heavy work day for you, or a day where you have more physical activity, or your workout day, like I just said for me. Those would be days where I would consider the best days to get your carbohydrates in, or they will be most effective for you towards your goals if you eat them surrounding your physical activity. So for me, I make sure I have a little, usually I have like a piece of fruit, an apple, something like that before a training session. And then after a training session, I eat a lot of Greek yogurt, which also has carbohydrates. And then I'll put honey inside that Greek yogurt. And basically that is my go-to recovery meal after a training session, or even if I was just out on a long ruck with Jeremy or a long hike or something we were doing outside, I would reach for a protein and actually a simple carbohydrate source after a training session. Before a training session or a couple hours after a training session, I would opt for a complex carbohydrate, something like a sweet potato or oats or something like that, where I'd get a slower release of energy. So that's as simple as I could make it. I could go down some rabbit holes there, but I'm going to kick it over to Jeremy, see if he adds anything to that. How do you view carbs?
So first thing, are we adding honey to that list?
Yes, honey should be on that list.
Yeah.
Yep, I forgot that one. Honey's on that list.
I forgot that one too.
Maple syrup as well. Yeah. Both of those are simple carbohydrates. Yeah. Not bad. Just know that they break right down to sugar and get used immediately.
Honey is definitely one of my favorites. As you know,
Perfect.
I carry honey around with me. That's definitely one of my favorite carbohydrates. My philosophy or my approach is very much like yours. I know, big surprise. Well, however, with one small tweak, as is usual for both of us. I tend toward having a little bit at a time throughout the day to keep my energy up a little bit more.
Okay.
And I also buffet my major activity periods with carbohydrates. So leading up to, sometimes even during a little bit, depending on my activities, like when I'm riding my bike, I'm using a lot more carbohydrates. So that is a piece of the puzzle I believe that we can all work on a little bit more, is understanding, I think I said it at the beginning when you said, how much should we eat? And I said, what are you doing? Right? So in that place of what are you doing? Like, that's a really important question. Like, how much stuff are you doing today? John just said, hey, on my workout days, it looks like this. Like, okay, so he's clearly preempting his activity, he's got his stuff packed with him. But if you know you're going to be exerting yourself heavily, if you know you're going to be doing a thing that you don't normally do, ding, 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 in the back of your head, there should be like, hey, I might need a little extra energy for that. Some carbohydrates are the thing for that. And as John was saying, like, maybe if it's a little further away, like, hey, well, I'll take one that's going to burn slowly and get me right to that place ready to go. Then I can eat some simple ones during and right after and recover. But yes, very similar to what yours is. I just happen to have a touch more throughout the day, but not a lot, really. Like, I'm very low until there's an actual time for me to exert myself. And that would really be the only deviation from your philosophy.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's a deviation, just more of an addition to, and a more robust strategy. The truth is, like Jeremy said, what are you doing, and or what is your goal? There also might be times where, let's say you're in a fat loss phase, right? Like maybe for 2 to 6 weeks, you've decided you want to eat a little less and move a little more. That would be a time to really dial back the carbohydrates on off days, meaning if you're not going to exert yourself or you haven't really exerted yourself that much. And I'm not talking getting up, going to your car, and then sitting down on the couch.
That doesn't count?
Not really.
Oh,
no,
all right.
It doesn't.
Just wanted to be clear about that.
So again, if weight loss is our goal, you are most likely going to eat, or weight loss or fat loss. Let's be clear there. There's two different things.
Right.
And they fit in a similar vein. However, if we're looking to lose, you're going to eat less overall carbohydrates. And then the timing of them, I would say, is actually pretty crucial, meaning only eat them around physical activity, because you're going to need that energy to get through your physical activity, and then let your body adapt to that physical activity while utilizing other sources of fuel, aka body fat, to fill in the gaps. So we need to make sure that we're eating enough carbohydrates to fuel our activity without overeating carbohydrates that end up with fat storage. Right? So that would be more like of a weight loss, fat loss type goal.
Right.
Do you have anything to add there? This podcast is sponsored by Bare Knuckle Strength. If you're ready and willing to start getting rid of and or release your pain, one of the best ways that we have found to start doing that is self-myofascial release. We have created a program here at Bare Knuckle Strength. You can get that right now for free by going to www.bareknucklestrength.com/release. www.bareknucklestrength.com/RELEASE. Release. We look forward to seeing you on the inside. Be well.
No, I've been on that plan for quite a while myself, so I have nothing more to add to it. It's pretty much exactly the way I would follow.
Awesome. So there we agreed on that one. Now, if we're going to go to muscle building, that's going to be a little different. The truth is, the bulk of your muscle tissue, while yes, it is protein, guess how it gets bigger and fuller?
Carbohydrates.
So if your goal is to add weight, add muscle, you're probably going to double up your carbohydrate intake around your physical activity. That's as simple as I'm going to say it right now, because the truth is, I don't have many people coming in being like, yo, bulk me up, John. I'm trying to like get on stage and do a physique thing. Not that it's not a bad goal or an unacceptable goal. We just don't have that showing up here in our gym as much. And if it did, we'd be ready for it. Do you have anything to add to that?
No.
No. Okay. So
I've never had an issue with gaining weight.
Never?
No. I've always been able to.
You've always been able to gain
easily.
weight? Okay. All right. So I know some people, we do have one or two that have had a hard time, gainers that have had a hard time keeping it on. And
that has never been my issue.
No worries. All right. So, and the best sort of general way I can say this, the best timing or when to eat your carbohydrates is throughout the day, surrounding your most physical tasks, before and after exercise. Again, very general. However, a good place to start.
Would there be a time, in your opinion, that you maybe should consider not eating as many carbohydrates?
Well, how is your A1C? How is your blood sugar levels? Is your doctor telling you are on a pre-diabetic track? Do you tend to have a lot of excess blood sugar? Does your family history lend itself to that? Those are some of the questions that come up to me when asked that. I would say, and this is from experience and not me telling you what to do, I believe the time not to eat carbohydrates is when you are attempting not to overeat carbohydrates. Let's be very specific, is when you're in a weight loss, fat loss phase.
Okay. That
would be a time where I believe tracking them will be to your benefit if losing weight and fat is actually your goal.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my answer there.
Okay.
Otherwise, yeah, I wouldn't say don't. I would say the simple carbohydrates, if you're going to eat them, and guess what? I do too. We have cookies, stuff, all the things. Eat it around your training sessions, for real. Like, if you're going to work hard and then you want a cookie, guess what? Within an hour of your training session, that's probably when that should go down the hatch. Not like right before bed, before you go sleep, and then you kick yourself off into a pattern of your body trying to digest food while you're trying to sleep might not be the best utilization of a carbohydrate for that. And complex carbohydrates, like Jeremy said, and I believe this is most likely what he does, is he'll space them strategically throughout the day to give him the best energy release, to keep his energy consistent, or even so he can go up when he needs to go up.
Sweet potatoes.
Bingo.
All the time.
Yep.
My strategy is very simple. I have several sweet potatoes cooked and ready, and I might eat one throughout the day. Yep. Cut into pieces of 3 or something like that, and just have a section, just enough. Like I don't need a lot, but I find that it helps greatly with keeping me satiated. I don't have, the sweet potatoes have a lot of fiber in them, so it keeps me satisfied. Like, I don't feel like I need to continue to eat other things after I have that in my stomach.
What he just said is really crucial. Aim for that when we're going towards carbohydrates, meaning I don't feel like I have to keep eating more. If you feel like you have to keep eating more carbohydrates, it's most likely protein that we need to get in there so that we don't overeat. Like if you ate the carbohydrates and I need more, I don't have enough energy. It's not that we don't have enough energy, it's that we're not using it and utilizing it most likely properly. So something to think about there.
But the French fries are so good.
The French fries are good. So good. Truffle fries from one of my favorite restaurants downtown.
They are really good. I've had them too.
There are times I'm a pumpkin pie guy. You guys know that about me, or I should say some of my students know that. Listeners, you might not know as much about me, but yes, I love carbohydrates too. I do have some muscle on this body. I'm not the biggest, bulkiest, bodybuilding looking bro. However, I have some muscle, and it does utilize carbohydrates, and I do enjoy them. So that is important. If you enjoy them, we need to find a way for you to enjoy them while also moving you in the direction that you wish to improve whatever performance is important to you.
Fair.
Anything else to add there?
No, sir.
Cool. So what I'd like to do to sort of finish up, kind of like we did last time, was just show off some of the things.
Examples?
Yeah, a couple of examples. So let's pull some stuff up here.
We're all together today. Yep. We'll go.
All right. So we just put a bunch of stuff on the table. I'm going to hold up some stuff for you. Jeremy's going to hold up some stuff for you. My personal favorite carbs, and it's not the only one, but it's really simple to make. I have a way that I can make it really fast. I love white rice, white jasmine rice, white basmati rice, those two, white wild rice. Those, for whatever reason, they hit me in the right way. So I love my white rice. Keep it in my container. And like we talked about before, we could always have a scale, right? And then set the scale down, and I could put right on top of the scale, and I could weigh out however much I was eating. And then that way I could track, especially on my weightlifting days. Another one that I really like, old-fashioned oats. The rolled oats aren't bad. I just really prefer the old-fashioned. They seem a little heartier. The energy release for me is more consistent, and I really appreciate that.
I like the steel cut.
Steel cut is great as well. I have no qualms there, no issues.
That's my preference.
And then we have some fruits like we talked about. We have banana, apple. Banana, really great for right after a workout. Apple, really good, a little fiber before. So that's just how I have found that they hit best, but how do you eat bananas and apples? And then I'm going to let Jeremy finish up with the ones he's got.
Well, I got my oranges. I love, right now, this time of year, we got the mandarins, clementines, anything like that. They're a great little hit of energy, vitamin C, a little bit of fiber if you're actually eating the whole thing and not just sucking on the juice. So there's that. Obviously, I've mentioned sweet potatoes multiple times. I do not have one to show, but you've all seen one. You know what it looks like. They're excellent. They're definitely one of my favorite potatoes favorite vegetables in general to eat, and I eat it frequently. And then another piece of the puzzle here. So John's got one over there too. These are RX bars. So these only have a few ingredients in them, right? So 3 egg whites, 14 peanuts, 2 dates. Obviously, this is the peanut butter one. If you're allergic to that, John's got one that doesn't have peanuts in it. He's got one that has egg whites, almonds, dates, and cashews, right? So what you're getting here is carbohydrates, but also complex carbohydrates because there's dates. The dates have fiber in them. You're getting the stack of that complex carbohydrate with protein. These are 12 grams of protein a piece in a very easy to eat and digest package. You'll see these if you're in the gym at all, you've definitely seen John or I eating these at some point in time. We eat them all the time. They're relatively low in calories, depending on which one you get. This one's a blueberry, so it's got a little bit of blueberry in it. We like blueberries all the time anyway. I'm a peanut butter fanatic, so anything that I have is probably going to have some form of peanut butter around it somewhere. But we'll talk about that one in the fat section because that is a little more appropriate there. But yeah, that's kind of mine. And I also really like rice. Like rice is one of my go-tos as well. I tend towards the brown rice a little bit more. I just feel like it burns a little smoother for me, and I get a little bit longer energy out of that. But otherwise, these are the things. Like the list was long. We don't eat all of them. It's like we're sitting here on the first day of February now, so what you're not going to see is a lot of the fresh vegetables that you might see if we were shooting this podcast on June 1st or July 1st. Like that stuff is not here. But for me, that is where I live a lot. Like I want the freshest things that were grown the closest to me most of the time. And that's where we get into that quality versus quantity or any of that kind of stuff when it comes to your protein, when it comes to your carbohydrates, when it comes to your fats, when it comes to everything you consume, quality, right? Like that's what we're looking for almost exclusively.
I can't argue that. What I'll add is I believe the bottom of the pyramid, if we build a pyramid of like, how do I get the right carbs, when, how much, what should I have? Make sure that you're eating carbohydrates that you believe or know is aiding your performance first. And make sure the bottom of that pyramid is to eat enough without overeating. Okay? So are we eating enough carbohydrates that are not ending up in fat storage? If the answer is yes, then we can start to look at the quality of those carbohydrates. What are the sources? Are they organic? Are they in their least processed form, et cetera, et cetera? And then there's some things we can add after that, but I'm not going to go into that route right now because it's not necessary. This is very much of like a carbohydrate 101, kind of like we did the protein 101. So, Jeremy, if there's nothing else you have to add, this one was relatively quick in the sense that just like your carbohydrates, you eat them, they get absorbed quickly. This should be able to be absorbed quickly and put into practice today. So hopefully within this half an hour to 35-minute podcast or so, you'll get some quick action tips that will allow you to start dialing in the carbohydrate sources that you believe are best for you, or somewhere to start, or how to get them at the right time to start reaching your goals. Do you have anything else to add, my friend?
I think we covered everything on the 101 carbohydrate list.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for making it this far in our podcast. I am not okay, and that's why I created www.iamnotok.com. It's a space where we can go to be seen, to be heard, and to not be judged. Everybody needs that. Everybody wants that. here is our opportunity to have that. If you are ready to have your story heard, please go to www.iamnotok.com/contact, CONTACT, and fill out our form to sit right here across from me as a guest on our podcast. And if you're not ready to be a guest and tell your story live, but you are ready to start telling the truth, even if just to yourself, then please grab our free Speaking Your Truth guide, www.iamnotok.com/truth. We look forward to seeing you on the inside. Be well.